Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawnbuster Taste Challenge. We have for this Dawnbusters Taste Challenge, which it's still nighttime, but should be coming. Daylight should be coming 5:38 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Really 4:38, but we got the pretend time. We have from 1844, and this is not a joke. It's not some marketing flim flam. This is T.W. Samuels. And it's like the label with a label inside the label. It's like, here's the old label. And the new label, which is probably from like 1933. This was an actual man. He had an actual bourbon company. And I checked the trademark. And the trademark, this blended American whiskey, was 1844, okay? There's also T.W. Samuels straight bourbon whiskey, okay? Well, what's not authentic about it? Well, okay. T.W. Samuels Distillery, Bardstown, Nelson County, Kentucky. Yeah, it's Heaven Hill. They bought the brand, I'm sure a long time ago. And it's even got the old designation, Registered U.S. Patent Office, T.W. Samuels. And if you, the new labels, modern times, have an R with a circle around it, the registered R. A distinctive blend. This is Heaven Hill. It's got that, you can see it's got that Heaven Hill shield. Yeah, I don't know about distinctive. Choice blended whiskey. Yeah. Neutral spirits, 80% grain neutral spirits, aged 36 months. 80% grain alcohol. Oh, yeah. It's like gasoline these days. Well, that's 10%, right? Remember, 20% is the minimum. If you go under 20, then it can't be called blended whiskey. It's got to be spirit whiskey. You say that's a class of drink of alcohol? Yeah, spirit whiskey. Oh, yeah. Have I ever bought any? Oh, no. And here is the Gran Legacy. Big old bottle. Plastic. The beauty of plastic. Now, the T.W. Samuels, that's a 750 milliliter bottle. Your standard size bottle. It was $8.99 at Winn-Dixie. Always see it at Winn-Dixie right over here, which literally is, what's a half a mile from here? It's close. T.W. Samuels, baby. And now, Gran Legacy American blend. Blended whiskey with natural flavors. Does an American blended whiskey have to have natural flavors? No. It's not required, but it's allowed. And since it's allowed, they got it. Believe me, they've got it. Because they don't have to disclose it. They can put like this. Sazerac is kind of good about disclosure. Like they'll oftentimes be courteous and say, yeah, it's got flavoring. But, and it's obviously got coloring. Well, yeah. But they are allowed to do it, and they don't have to disclose. Now, bourbon, straight bourbon, or any kind of bourbon. Oh, retraction. Straight bourbon cannot have coloring added. Blended bourbon, you say, what the heck? Yeah, there's a class of whiskey called blended bourbon, which is allowed to have coloring added. An example of that would be 10 High, which used to be straight Kentucky bourbon, but they changed it to blended, make it cheaper. Okay, well, they're the same shade. They're both amber. Maybe the Gran Legacy is a little darker, but it isn't by much. Nice little alcohol legs, swishing around. I've been having trouble with the Gran Legacy. In other words, I can't tell it apart from the other ones. Why is that? Well, either I don't know what I'm doing and I can't tell them apart because I got a bad taste ability. Possible, right? Of course. Second likelihood, and I think the much more accurate one, much more likelihood, is that they're all so similar one to another that probably most people wouldn't be able to tell them apart in a blind taste test. I'm not seeing people doing that on YouTube. I'm not saying people should do that on YouTube. I'm not saying anybody would want to watch that on YouTube. But don't call me out for getting it wrong if you're not out there doing your blind taste test. If you did a blind taste test, would I watch it? Yeah, I'd watch it. I like watching those kind of things. Reed Geeb says plastic bottles are bad for the taste. I've heard that. I haven't noticed that to be the case. I think these are devised to be neutral. In other words, they don't interfere with the flavor. For water, soft drinks, liquor. Now, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know. I can only go by what I've experienced. And my experience is that I've noticed no, and I mean absolutely no difference in flavor. I'm not a champion for plastic. I would rather glass, personally. It's nicer looking. Same thing with beer. People say, oh, Magnum, Steel Reserve, Old English brand, 800 brand malt liquor. It's in plastic bottles. It tastes bad now. I haven't noticed one iota of difference. Okay, I'm just telling you, if I did notice it, I'd be saying it. If I thought it was worse, I'd be ranting and raving about it. I just haven't noticed that. Okay, aroma. I didn't wake up till late this morning because I was at the Tulane football game. So usually I get up around 2:45 in the morning. Not today. I looked at the clock. I said 4:11. I said, no chance of looking at the baseball highlights this morning. I don't even know who won any of the baseball games, but I'll watch them. You know, I'll watch the highlights later. Got to go to church today, so, you know, but that's how it goes. The game was good. Tulane won. What do you expect? They played one of the worst teams in the country in a lower subdivision. Missouri State, formerly Southwest Missouri State. You probably know about them, Springfield, Missouri, but it was kind of boring, really, you just watching them score. But it's nice when your team's doing it, then as oftentimes with Tulane University football, it's the other team scoring on them at will. So it's a nice change. This smells very standard, just like grain alcohol, a little wood, a little char, candy, corn. I think that's what T.W. Samuels tasted like in my experience. It's just very basic. So you say they've been putting that junk out on the market since 1844, huh? Yeah. Yeah, blended whiskey is really old. It's kind of like older than the rest because that's why the U.S. government instituted that Bottled in Bond Act, or at least that's what they said they did, in 1897 for quality control, because people were putting out all kind of crazy stuff, calling it whiskey, and it was making people ill, and it wasn't really whiskey. And so the Bottled in Bond Act guaranteed a purified whiskey. And so when you buy bonded whiskey, it's more purified. All right. And it's more expensive, and it's stronger. It's 100 proof. Whereas these are 80. They're very mild. Oh, very strong nose of corn. Oh. Corn grits, corn meal. Yeah. Corn starch. Yeah. What about wood? What about char? No. So in my thinking, this must be the Gran Legacy because I'm picking up a little more wood and charred oak thing. You say, well, that might just be natural flavoring, like oak extract that they add to the Triple Crown. It could be. I don't know. They're not going to tell you what they put. They're allowed to have up to 2% blending sherry. Can you go to the store and buy blending sherry? You know you cannot. That I've seen. You can buy cooking sherry, which has salt in it. You can't drink that, but you can cook with it. You can buy cream sherry, cocktail sherry, dry sherry, sherry excellent for cooking. It's not cooking sherry, it's sherry excellent for cooking. All of those. But now whether you would want to use them in a whiskey blend to blend whiskey, I don't know. They might taste funky or something. When Kessler's went from glass to plastic, I could tell the difference. That was in the late 90s, so perhaps they have improved since then. They may have, yeah. The PET bottle's probably better now. I don't know. Yeah, I can get Kessler in Louisiana. I get the plastic jug bottles, and I can get Kessler in the glass liter bottles. But I've had it before. But I wouldn't mind getting it again. It was pretty good. But Beam Suntory's disrespecting their brand because they used to list it on the website and talk about how wonderful Julius Kessler was. And now they don't show it. What's wrong? Y'all embarrassed Beam Suntory? Y'all don't want to show Kessler? You don't want to show Beam's 8-star. No, you want to only show Jim Beam and Jim Beam Black and all that. I understand, but you make the product, promote the product. It's not going to hurt you to put it on your website. What's wrong? It's going to take away bandwidth. Get real. Come on. We know that's not the case that they gave me. Time for the taste challenge. So I think this could be the Gran Legacy, but this I'm not sure about. They both smell fine. It's when you start tasting them that things begin to break down with many of these blended whiskeys. Yeah. You get wood, caramel, candy, sugar, like that. Like a Werther's Original or that Riesling candy, whatever that is. Oak, vanilla, a lot of vanilla. So if you like whiskeys with a lot of vanilla flavor, you might like this. I always say whiskey tastes like candy to me. No, it doesn't have any strange honeydew melon. Now, see, the Heaven Hill brands oftentimes have honeydew melon, but it confused me yesterday, though. I got it mixed up. I didn't get it right. No big deal. All right, let's go over here. It tastes like a Heaven Hill whiskey. It's got that honeydew melon starting to evidence itself. Like, come on, when you drink whiskey, is it supposed to taste like a melon? Almost like a cantaloupe. No, I don't think whiskey should taste like a cantaloupe or a honeydew melon. I don't know. That's just me. You say, no, you don't understand. I do understand, and I don't recall whiskey tasting like that. All right. Now, what was T.W. Samuels making back in 1844? I mean, I don't know. Was the blended whiskey in 1844 much different than today? It might have been way worse, probably less quality control and more dangerous or something. People were drinking it. And it has a lot to do with New Orleans. Bourbon has a lot to do with Kentucky, the Ohio and Mississippi River, the Appalachian Mountains, New Orleans. And really, if you want to be techno, they were trying to ship corn liquor down here to New Orleans and then go around to, Charleston, Savannah, Charleston, Boston, New York City, England. So they were just shipping clear moonshine, what we call moonshine, clear alcohol, grain alcohol, which they call whiskey, clear. Corn liquor. That's where the corn, they had the whiskey rebellion. And but they wanted to store, they had to store it in something, so they were shipping in these barrels down the river. These charred. Why they came up with the idea for charred, don't know. If you don't use charred, then it's just corn whiskey. But after months and years sitting in those barrels, by the time it got to New Orleans, it was turning red, that reddish like this. And they said, what's that red liquor? And we don't know how, but the name bourbon came about for the red liquor. Some people say it's because of Bourbon Street, New Orleans. Maybe. Big drinking street, at least for 4 blocks. Bourbon County, Kentucky, could be. the Bourbon dynasty, the Bourbon family that ruled France until 1830, or technically till 1848. Bourbon Orleans, House of Bourbon Orleans, Louis Philippe. But whatever the case, that's the story. That's part of the story on that. Corn, liquor, but I'm not picking up honeydew melon or cantaloupe. Which one's better? Well, I don't know. To me, the Gran Legacy seems to be better. What about price? It's the same. You can buy TW Samuel's big jug bottles, probably. Well, no, I don't think you can get it for $10.99. This thing was $10.99. That's about as cheap as they come, unless you go to Walmart and get one for $9.96. That is not a lie. You can buy blended whiskey at Walmart for $9.96 for a huge jug bottle, or rum, silver or spiced, or vodka, or gin. All of it. $9.96. It doesn't come any cheaper than that. That's not going to happen. All right. It's all coming from Sazerac. Tell you this real fast. I went to the Tulane game last night, right? And I was talking to my friend David. I said, hey, I said, you notice at the bar, because they serve mixed drinks at Tulane games. They always have. There's never been a rule against that. Cocktails. A lot of these people in New Orleans be drinking cocktails at the game. Wine, beer. I'm looking. I said, you notice that all the liquor behind the counter is the same company, Sazerac? He said, yeah, you want to know why? I already knew why. He said, you want to know why? I said, I know why. He said, because the owner, William Goldring, is one of the biggest contributors to Tulane University. They got buildings named after him on the campus, the Goldring Center and all that. I said, yeah, so you know they're going to only sell Sazerac brands. Cane Run Rum, Miles Gin, Benchmark Bourbon, Wheatley Vodka, and so on. I said, look at them. He said, you know, Benchmark's not, this is my friend David talking, but I agree. He said, really, Benchmark's not bad for a kind of lower level bourbon to make cocktails. I said, no, it's not bad. It's kind of basic. It was invented by Seagram's. Seagram's introduced Benchmark back in the 1960s as their bourbon, straight bourbon. It used to be called Seagram's Benchmark. Well, Sazerac bought it when Seagram's, 10 years before Seagram's collapsed, 11 years before Seagram's collapsed, and they reformulated it, but they remarketed it as McAfee's Benchmark Old Number 8. It used to not be anything like that. Look at the old labels. It just say Benchmark Bourbon. It's a different bottle design and insignias and all that. All right, so I'm going to say this is Gran Legacy. Can you get it in glass bottles? Yes. Yes, you can. I saw another blended whiskey last night at Broadway Liquor on Broadway Boulevard in New Orleans on the corner of US Highway 90, and it was called Well Made blended whiskey. I said, well made, like WELL-made. I said, I never heard of Well Made. What is this? $10.99 a bottle. But it tipped me off when it said Norwalk, Connecticut. Like Well Made distiller. I said, well, Norwalk. I said, oh, look at Diageo putting out a little unknown brand. I got to do some research on Well Made. And then they had a plastic bottle of scotch I said, look at this homely little thing. I said, boy, you're hitting the bottom when you're drinking that. But it was intriguing to see it. I said, oh, I never heard of this stinking brand. And it was from somewhere in Florida. And it wasn't Auburndale, Florida, where a lot of the stuff comes from. I said, boy, you go into a store, you never know what you're going to find. And some of it is so bizarre. You could make a show about it called the Some Bizarre Show. But that Well Made blended whiskey, I got to do some research on Well Made. You let me know if you know anything about Well Made. Okay, here we go. It's better say GL. It's better say GL. Oh, I lost again. I don't know what I'm doing apparently. Or, and let's hope it's the second reason, or these cheap, inexpensive, value price, budget conscious blended whiskeys are so similar that you just can't tell it one from the other. And I think that's what I'm dealing with. They're so alike. I don't care who makes them. It's just like you can't. Now, are any of them like really bad? Nah, they're not bad. They're just strange. Like some of them are really strange, like the King Square. What a bizarre product. It's so bizarre. There's only one that stands out in my experience so far. Only one stands out. And way out. Like it's way better than the rest. It's like comically better. And that's the Seagram 7 Crown. You say, well, why they charge so much? You know why they charge so much? Because it's way better. That's why. So if you drink all of this stuff, it's all kind of like common, just common. Like, if you want to call it junk, whatever. I wouldn't call it junk, but you know what I'm saying. But Seagram 7 Crown is obviously way better when you drink it. And I don't think I'm going to get that wrong. It's just better. It's got more wood, more charred wood, more oak, more quality grain. All right. It's just obviously better. And in fact, it's so much better that I bought a new bottle for Taste Challenges, because that's the real benchmark, if you want to use that term, of blended whiskey is Seagram 7 Crown. Oh yeah, it wipes out all these. Yeah. Is it worth paying extra for Seagram 7 Crown? Oh yeah, it's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it because you're getting a way better product. Well, anyway, I'm dealing with these. I mean, I'm sometimes be ripping on them and stuff, but I can't rip on them too much since I did buy them. They're all right, but I can't tell them apart. All right. What's coming up next? Think it's it's Heaven Hill. Heaven Hill. That's the real popular one around here. The blended Heaven Hill. Okay. Well, thanks for watching this video production. Now I'm going to watch the news. I am going to watch the news.